Welcome to Compass Points, the weekly podcast for CompassKnox.com. CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. You can find their daily in-depth coverage and subscribe at CompassKnox.com.
Welcome to Compass Points, a podcast about Knoxville and Knox County government, politics, business, education, and just about anything else that grabs our attention. I'm Scott Barker, the editor of Compass, and Compass is a subscription-based website and newsletter where we report on all these topics and more, and you can find us at CompassKnox.com. Joined, as always, here at Compass Points by Compass co-founder Jesse Mayshark. Jesse, how you doing today?
Doing pretty well. It's been, I don't know, sort of a quiet week on my end of things. But one thing I should say, I have another podcast that I host and produced. No, that's fine. Under the auspices of the Progressive South, a nonprofit media platform, and our podcast there, Headlights, has been on hiatus over the summer while I've been working on some other things, but. Seth and I just recorded the forthcoming episode of that will land on Monday. So if you've been looking for that, because we've been on a break, that'll be there. And if you've never sampled it, check it out.
Absolutely. Well, I usually mention Headlights and failed to do so this week. I'm glad you jumped in.
This is the week I actually returned.
You had a reason to talk about that.
Right. I'm just curious, who's the Seth character that does work for you?
I was about to introduce this Seth character, and this Seth character is Lord Seth Barber. He is the ruler of the Barbarian Productions in Rocky Hill, and we are in his opulent studios even as we speak. And Seth is what is the 3-day-old weather report for our listeners?
Still hot, still real hot. But we're back in football season. That's exciting. Got to go into Friday night here as recording to go into the Beard and West game tonight. My alma mater with my kids' current school. Conflicted feelings, whatever. I don't know, but I'm excited to get back into some of these back to school schedule norms and some of the different fun stuff that goes on with that. So fingers crossed we don't have one of these sporadic showers tonight that ruins the game. So yeah. Speaking of football season, the big news that we're not going to really talk about in our regular course of discussion because we don't really do sports is the big news of the week was that Tennessee and Alabama are both going to wear their primary colored jerseys when they play on the third Saturday in October this year. That's
where is the game this year?
This year it is in Knoxville. Here it's a home game, but Tennessee will be wearing orange. Alabama will be wearing crimson. They used to do that back in the day, back before.
Back when there was tradition in college football.
Well, it was actually the big thing was TV,
right?
And when you had two teams both wearing colors, it was very difficult to tell them apart in black and white, which, the transition, Tennessee and Alabama still wore, Tennessee's orange, by the way. They say that it's always been the same shade. I don't believe them for a heartbeat because I remember back in the day, it's a little lighter shade of orange, as I recall.
They've ripened it a little bit.
I think they brightened it up a tad. They'll say they don't. I'll go to my grave saying they did. Anyway, which is I don't care either way, but
you're not going to cheer for them regardless.
Yeah. I'm still going to say Roll Tide, but up until the 1970s, they both wore their colored jerseys, and then they started wearing, the visiting team would wear white from there on out.
The last living person with a black and white TV has died.
Finally died off. Now we can do it. Well, a couple of schools had started doing that. UCLA and USC are that's the big game that people that they used to do that back in the 60s, and then they got away from it, of course, like everybody else. But they're USC wears their Cardinal jerseys, and UCLA wears their light blue jerseys, and so you can still tell them apart. It's not like, and it'll be that way when Tennessee and Alabama play. But anyway,
it'll be a colorful game.
It will be. It'll be
right in the middle of fall, or late fall, and so it'll match the leaves right outside the stadium.
Yeah, the leaves will be red and orange, and so it'll be it'll be a fun throwback. So for those of us who care, and for those of us who don't, then ignore the last couple of minutes. So anyway, we've got a kind of a packed episode today. We are going to be welcoming Leslie Bateman as our guest today. She is the editor and publisher of Inside of Knoxville, and we'll chat with her about the city's innards. We'll also have talk about a little bit of monkey business that went on in city council this week. After that, we'll talk about prior to that, we'll talk about the North Waterfront plan that City Council approved on Tuesday for redeveloping or developing the area along Neyland Drive between the UT campus and the river. We'll talk about the city council referendum that will be on the ballot. It's a city election referendum that will be on the ballot in November. We'll lead off, though, talking about Team Henderson, Betsy Henderson, the Knox County mayor-elect. She announced her senior leadership team this week or last week, and at the top of that list is a political operative from South Carolina named Evan Newman. Doug Harris, he'll be the chief of staff. Doug Harris, who's a former school board chair, is going to be the chief operating officer. And Chris Caldwell, the current chief financial officer, will continue in that role. He will be the highest ranking holdover from the Glenn Jacobs administration when the transition occurs on September 1st. Now, one thing, Newman is an unknown quantity in East Tennessee. He was, as I said, he's coming from South Carolina, and in South Carolina, he has been the state director for the State Freedom Caucus in the Carolina state legislature. Now, this is kind of the state government version of the Congressional Freedom Caucus, which is the kind of ultra right wing caucus of House members in Congress, and he played that organization played Assembly of Assemblymen plays the same role in South Carolina. They push, they do a couple things. They push for kind of the ultra right wing agenda, which isn't that uncommon, but in Republican circles, the party's moved further to the right in recent years, as the Democratic Party's moving further to the left. The one thing that's kind of interesting about this group is that they openly challenge Republicans, fellow Republicans who don't appear to be as ideologically pure as they are, and they will support candidates running against more moderate incumbent Republicans, which used to nobody would who's in a legislative seat would support the opponent of a fellow member, but that's gone by the wayside these days. They do really push for in one instance abortion laws in South Carolina. This group is push to make equate getting an abortion with homicide.
Yeah,
and which is that bill hasn't passed the House. It's still in committee in the South Carolina House.
But those are the kind of bills
that they push anyway. Not sure, but it seems like Henderson has probably known this guy for a long time. Both of them worked for members of Congress in D.C. Several years ago, he does bring a lot of political experience to the job, and that is the chief of staff is in many instances is kind of the leader. Henderson in this case is usually the one who smiles and is all nice and puts a really, really positive face forward. The chief of staff is usually the one who kind of brings down the hammer behind the scenes and all. I don't know what his style.
Make sure everybody is pursuing the executive's agenda and that kind of thing.
Right. Now, I don't know what his style is. Don't know anything about him more than basically what we just
because
said.
he hasn't been here.
He hasn't.
We have yet to meet him.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. He's going to be replacing the same essential role as Dwight Vandevate, who's been the co-chief of staff for Mayor Jacobs. Vandevate is not exactly that doesn't exactly fit that mold, although he can be pretty tough when he needs to be.
I mean, he's an old hand administrator, basically, who really knew I say knew because he's retiring at the end of this month. But Dwight, who lots of us have known long enough to call him by his first name, Dwight, because he's been in and around the city-county building for 42 years. Yeah,
and we both known him longer than 30 years. I mean, it's not like,
back to when he worked for former Sheriff Tim Hutchison. But he's the kind of figure who was there to, he knew how county government works and how all the different pieces go together. And it's notable that Jacobs brought Vandevate into that elevated Vandevate to that position after Jacobs' own chief of staff, who he brought into office with him, his former campaign manager, Brian Hare, was compelled to resign back in 2020. People may remember some incidents involving a misappropriated golf cart and some questions about those kinds of things. But, I think Jacobs has really relied on Vandevate and also Chris Caldwell, the chief financial officer, to kind of keep the trains running, know what needs to be done in all the various parts of county government. So it's interesting that Henderson, who does not have that kind of administrative experience herself, I mean, she knows county government, but only from the standpoint of a sitting school board member, is bringing in as chief of staff somebody who has zero knowledge of Knox County, no familiarity with Knox County government, is not known to other people in Knox County government. And, that as Jacob's initial experience with bringing in his own chief of staff who didn't have that kind of knowledge showed, that can be challenging. Now, she does have Doug Harris, obviously, coming in as the chief operating officer. Again, he has not worked in the county. He was on the school board, but Harris is also pretty ideological. He is best known locally. I mean, he's a regular Republican Party donor, but he's best known locally, going back to his days on the school board, as an advocate for school choice, for vouchers and charter schools. And that's really the issue. That's certainly the issue I associate him most with. And I think it's the one that a lot of people in town who have encountered him politically, that's how they think of him. So again, you're bringing in these two clearly very politically oriented, ideologically oriented appointees at the top level. And between the two of them and Henderson, none of them have any experience actually working in Knox County government. So it'll be interesting. Yeah.
And one thing, Harris's positions on charter schools and vouchers align with Henderson's
very much.
And Knox County general government doesn't have anything to do with vouchers or charter schools or anything. So, and yeah, I mean, one of the things that Vandevate brought to the table, and anybody with some experience in Knox County government will realize is, of course, Knox County structurally, the mayor is not that powerful structurally. I mean, the mayor's office does the finance department does develop the budget. The mayor does manage some city or some county departments. The parks department, the engineering department. But they don't have anything to do with the schools. They don't have anything to do with law enforcement. They don't have anything to do with courts administration. There's a lot of things they don't. Yep. That the mayor doesn't have any control over. It's almost, it all depends on the mayor's personality and the knowledge of how they can manipulate these other more independent agencies. Vandevate was very good at that. Yeah. And
partly because he'd worked he came up through the sheriff's office, so he knew that whole side of things. Yeah. And then he'd worked for the county in, he was the head of public works under Tim Burchett, and then community development initially under Jacobs, and then was elevated to chief of staff under Jacobs. So he really had some experience in a lot of the different organs of county government.
And one of the key things there, it's the key difference between the city and the county is, in the city, the mayor, presides over city council meetings, has more control over city departments, those kinds of things. And, especially the city council, though, the mayor can, essentially set the agenda. The mayor can, basically, manage the debates at the meetings and things like that. The county mayor does not do that. The county mayor doesn't have a seat at county commission. In fact, a lot of times county mayors don't even go to county commission meetings. Yep. And knowing how to persuade county commissioners to do what you want them to do, when you don't have the structural power to force them to do, essentially force them to do, but or to hold something over their heads, basically to make them do it. That requires a lot of finesse and a lot of understanding of Knox County government and the players in Knox County government. And while it's not something that is akin to building a nuclear reactor or anything, it's still something that is a kind of a finesse, nuanced thing that really you only learn by experience. And like I said, neither Harris nor Newman have that experience. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, maybe Newman's a quick study and will be able to hit the ground running. That remains to be seen.
Well, and I think that it does send a pretty clear signal about what kind of administration to expect from Henderson. This is going to be an ideologically driven administration. I mean, that was her whole campaign, was that she said she was running as a strong conservative. And even at the one forum that we had that Seth organized, where all the county mayoral candidates appeared, there was a question to all four of them was, if you are elected, regardless of what party you represent, how will you govern to, represent the interests of the whole county? The other three candidates, who are not Betsy Henderson, all gave some version of, well, of course, doesn't matter if you vote for me or not, I represent you, and I'm just there to kind of do the job. Henderson stuck to her guns and gave a very ideologically focused answer there and said, I'm running to be the conservative Republican mayor and to represent conservative Republicans. She didn't even make nice noises about representing the rest of the county. And these two hires are both these very ideologically driven. You talk about Newman having to kind of get his feet on the ground and his arms around county government. This is a guy who's been spending most of his time very focused on national, kind of hot button culture war type issues, not on zoning or, the road paving schedule or whatever. And, as chief of staff, those things won't be his direct responsibility, but those are the actual job of the county mayor. It's not that the county mayor can't have an ideological agenda. Jacobs certainly has. He's really used sort of the bully pulpit of the county mayor to weigh in on all sorts of issues. But in the office, especially after that initial hiccup with his first chief of staff, it's been a pretty low drama administration, the Jacobs administration. Not a lot of blow-ups, and they have seemed to be mostly focused on the actual job of running the county, including pushing for the Advanced Knox project, which has been a major focus for Jacobs. So, like you say, it'll just be really interesting to see what flavor of leadership we get from this new administration. Yeah.
Now the other top hire was just actually not a hire because keeping Chris Caldwell on as finance director. I think that that's one of the signals too and she ran on, I will not raise taxes. Period. End of discussion. And Caldwell has been the chief financial officer for longer than a decade now. 2012, I think, was when he. Yeah, it was early in Tim Burchett's first term because Burchett's first appointment as finance director did not work out so well. And Caldwell, who was relatively young but had some experience in the county finance office, sort of suddenly found himself elevated into that position, and he's been there ever since. Someone who came from outside of Knox County government and had no government accounting experience. So, but Caldwell was elevated. Caldwell's been the finance director, under two mayors now, soon to be three mayors. And I think that it's fair to say that his budget voodoo has helped, although I'm sure he would hate, if he's listening, he's going to hate the fact that I use the word voodoo, but his budget acumen, let's say that, because that's more accurate actually, anyway, has been kind of the key to Jacobs being able to keep his no tax increase policies. Right. Working for a mayor who has committed to not raise taxes is not new for Caldwell. No, this not has been at his all. Entire experience as chief financial officer. No, and he is, he has been able to move the financial pieces of the county around where the Jacobs wasn't forced to raise property taxes, and I'm sure that Henderson is expecting him to do the same under her administration, and so that's not a surprise to me that she can't. Although I would have been surprised she brought in somebody else either. But if your goal is to have a finance director in place who will, and you basically say, do whatever it takes to keep from raising taxes, you probably couldn't do any worse than Chris Caldwell. Yeah. So anyway, the transition again is going to be official September 1st. Henderson and Jacobs and their teams have already started meeting, so we'll see how that transition goes. We don't know now if some of the other high-ranking right. There's other department heads who could change that we don't know yet. And the Parks Department and Engineering, Public Works, Community Development, those offices. Although there's probably a faction within the the far right wing of the Republican Party in Knox County would just want to do away with the community development department altogether, but because they're the ones who administer grants to nonprofits and those kinds of things anyway. But we don't know what the plans are for those departments yet. Those haven't been announced, and they don't have to be until she's ready to announce what she's going to do with them. But anyway, that's just a couple of weeks away, so we'll see how that works out. There was a lot of action at City Council last week. We won't get to all of it today, but we had quite a bit of it in the newsletter and on our website, and so if you subscribe, you can get it there. One important thing that they did was they approved sending a referendum to voters in the November election to kind of change the election process a little bit. This referendum would make it so that any candidate, whether a district race, a at-large council race, or mayor and municipal judge in the city, if whoever gets 50% plus one, in other words, more than half of the vote in the primary, does not have to run in the general election. So it's essentially making it a pure runoff system. Where if you get, if there are 3 or 4 candidates, one of the candidates happens to get 55% of the vote, they win in the primary and there's no runoff. If there are 3 or 4 candidates and the top vote getter gets 45% of the vote, then that person and the next highest vote getter go on to a runoff. That is the way that the mayor's elections and the municipal judge elections have been held forever and ever. It's not been that case for at-large seats and for district seats. Well, district seats you have to worry about because up until now you had a district-only voting primary, and then they ran citywide in the general election. Now that's thrown out. So basically, if you had a 2-person race, and this has happened many, many times, 2-person race in the primary, nobody's going to get more than half the vote in the primary, generally speaking. So you would run twice against the same person for the same electorate, which kind of doesn't make sense for a lot of people. So.
Yeah, that's what this is getting, and of course, as you say, this will be on the ballot in November, so the voters of the city of Knoxville will get to decide whether this is a change they want to make. But what this is aiming to limit or eliminate, essentially, is literally running the same elections twice, which we have done many times, like you said, for city council seats. Yeah. And that is a waste of time and money for candidates, voters, and the city that has to pay for the elections. Now, you can imagine all sorts of scenarios that this creates. You could have a circumstance where, say, it's one of the years where the mayor is on the ballot, the judge is on the ballot, and then you've got your 3 at-large council seats on the ballot. Everybody but one of those could win in the primary, and that would leave you with like one city council race on the ballot in November that everybody has to come out and vote in.
The other thing it can do in the years where there are district only races, where only 1 or 2 districts have let's say there's only one district that has that the top vote getter didn't get half the vote. You've got an election in 1 of 6 districts. Yep. So, which saves the city money. It's a lot.
Right. It's fewer polling places.
Yeah, fewer polling places, and they probably wouldn't open as many early voting locations, and then you only have 8 or so 8 to 10 precincts in each district. You've got those. And that's it as far as voting goes. So anyway, it'd be cheaper. So could be anyway. And then, but the argument ended up winning that this is what other places do too. So it's not like it's they're shattering norms or anything by doing it. One of the arguments against it is that voters a lot of times will get between the primary and the general election, learn more and more about candidates and may change their minds. Or, of course, there are a lot of people who vote in the general election who don't vote in a primary. Doug Lloyd, city council member, brought up the fact that in the county, in this year's election, you had 2 of the 4 candidates for sheriff who got indicted right after the primary.
Yeah.
Now, this was a Republican primary, and there was no Democratic candidate, and neither one of them was the top vote getter. Neither one of them won the primary, so there was no harm, no foul. But if one of them had been the Republican nominee, and there was, then voters couldn't, wouldn't have been informed to change their minds. So,
well, I mean, I think what it means, if this passes, voters are going to have to treat the primary like it is the general election.
Yes.
Because all of the races could theoretically be settled in the primary. So if you want to vote in those races, you're going to have to vote in the primary.
Yeah, and one of the arguments that was made against it was that it would discourage people who aren't connected or have lots of money, would discourage them from running for office because a lot of times you don't get money till after the primary. But I think, on the other hand, these are now, especially, when it's not the at-large seats, the district-only ones, you don't need a lot of money to run a district race. Yeah. And you can do very well without raising a whole lot of money in a district race. So if you want to focus, whatever your fundraising is, and if you have to start raising money a little bit earlier, so be it. But, I think that's kind of the idea is that we turn and we may end up having to have different terms for these elections, depending on how that kind of plays out. That the primary will be the general election, and the general election will be a runoff.
Right.
And the voters will may not treat them that way the first time around, but they probably would
get the idea.
Yeah, if it gets approved, this will be on the ballot in November, and city voters, not county voters, you can't vote on this. City voters will have their say on if they want to do that. Now, one potential charter change affecting elections did not pass last week and won't be on the ballot, and that was a proposal from Councilwoman Billy Parker to have a different way of breaking ties between second and third place finishers in primaries. Back in 2017, she ran in the 4th district, finished in a tie for second place in the primary under the council rule or the city law. The council members voted to break the tie, and they voted for her opponent, so she did not get to run directly. Her name wasn't on the ballot, but she did run a write-in campaign, a highly successful write-in campaign, by the way. But one of the things that ended up creating something is one of the things that some of the opponents of the measure looked at, and what her solution was that when you have a primary and you have candidates who tie for second place, then the first place place candidate and the 2 candidates who finished tied for second, all 3 go on to the general election. That brought some objections because, as several council members pointed out, then you would have a winner of the general election who likely wouldn't have 50% of the vote. You still wouldn't have a majority representative the way you do in a 2-person race. It's a different dynamic. and all of that. That was rejected by the council, and it's funny, but the votes were identical on both of them. It was a 6-2 vote to approve the first one we talked about, with Parker and Lloyd voting no. It was 6-2 to reject the second one, with Parker and Lloyd voting no. So
it's kind of interesting for Parker and Lloyd to emerge as a little bit of a voting bloc, because they're kind of the conventionally you would say they're kind of the farthest left and farthest right member of city council.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I thought about that too when that came down. The city council ideology doesn't matter as much as it does in the county. They're nominally nonpartisan. Most of the members are Democrats, but Parker is the most left-wing candidate or council member, most progressive council member there. Lloyd, although he's not been on long, at least from his campaign, is definitely the most conservative member.
And he was supported by the Republican Party.
Oh,
when
yeah,
he ran.
absolutely. So anyway, so November we have that on the ballot. Another item that the city council considered on Tuesday was the North Waterfront development plan, and that is a proposal to make the area on either side of Neyland Drive from Kingston Pike to the Henley Bridge a redevelopment area where new developments could the city and the county could take the tax increment financing from the new developments, the increase in property tax revenues, and devote that toward infrastructure improvements. This is done all over the city for the most part already. South Waterfront area around the stadium and other areas where they do this. Magnolia Avenue has one. One of the things that's interesting about this particular redevelopment area that's different from the other redevelopment areas that are in the city is the other ones are all about basically revitalizing areas. The South Waterfront was all about revitalizing the South Waterfront, bringing in new businesses, helping old existing businesses. Same with Magnolia Avenue corridor. That way, the stadium the area around the stadium is to create these new businesses, these new residences. We talked about next to the stadium. This one is all about infrastructure. Almost all of this property is owned by the University of Tennessee. It includes just the University of Tennessee at around Neyland Drive and the Maplehurst area, which is now almost all controlled by the University of Tennessee. And it's not so much. There's very little privately owned property there, and any that will be privately owned in the near future. So it's not like there's going to be all these, that this will encourage new shopping, new apartments, new things like that. What this is designed to do is to improve the infrastructure of all types: walking, bike riding, road network, although there's not much of a network there. Neyland Drive is a state highway, so it's a state and federal highway, so it's TDOT has control of it. But it's to pay for those kinds of things. And one of the reasons they're tying this in is they want to tie the campus to the river. They want to tie campus to downtown and points west of campus and west of the Fort Sanders area. And of course, you've got the pedestrian bridge coming from South Knoxville over to Thompson Bowling Arena, and so this is all about connections and not about economic direct economic development, say. Now, of course, then the question becomes, well, if it's not about economic development and UT owns all this property, then how are they going to raise the funds to do this through tax increment financing, which is the avenue that they use?
Especially because the university does not pay any property taxes.
The university does not pay property taxes. However, the stars have kind of aligned here. First of all, in Maplehurst, for example, almost all the land there is now owned by the University Financing Foundation, which is TUF, is the acronym. That is a nonprofit organization that bought the apartments up there, almost every bit of land in Maplehurst on behalf of UT. That is where UT is going to put in what they're calling the Maplehurst Innovation District. They don't have finalized plans for a lot of things, but there will be buildings built there that replace some of the older structures. They're supposed to be, making their best efforts to preserve some of the more historic buildings up there. And then this area also includes where the Neyland Entertainment District is going to be at the south end of Neyland Stadium, next to Thompson Bowling Arena. It's where that entertainment district is going to go in, where a hotel is going to go in, all these things. And still, you're saying they don't pay property taxes. What do we care? Well, one of the things that UT's been doing, and one of the things they're doing definitely with the entertainment district and the hotel, that they will probably be doing with the Maplehurst development, is all this construction is done through ground leases, where UT retains ownership of the ground, the land underneath these developments, but the buildings themselves are built and owned by a private entity. That's what they're going to do with the entertainment district and the hotel. The UT will not own the actual hotel. They will own the land underneath it. Same with the entertainment district. That hotel and the entertainment district buildings, those are taxable. Mm-hmm. And so there will be that will be a 0 to 60, say, tax break. So the entire, whatever they pay will be the new tax increment, which would be then used to pay for the infrastructure
around it.
And it was kind of interesting. At the meeting Tuesday, first of all, there was some confusion about the process, which is odd, because when they first told KCDC, Knoxville's Community Development Corporation, to develop this, Ben Bentley, the CEO, went through the process of what they were going to do. Well, then he got to Tuesday's meeting, where they presented their plan with the boundaries of this zone, and they were castigated. He was castigated essentially for not having enough public input. He said, "Whoa! That's not what we do yet, because the first step is to define the area. Then you get public input," and that was what they did Tuesday, essentially. Then they get public input. They talk to stakeholder groups. They do a large public hearing. They develop all the plans and all the tools. Right now, they're just fact finding. Where all the infrastructure, some of the history of the buildings, and those kinds of things. The plan will actually not be put together till after the first of the year. Won't be fleshed out, but there was a lot of confusion about that.
And it'll come back to City Council.
And it comes back to City Council. So Bentley explained again. He did not say, "Hey, I told you all this last time," but I'm saying it now. One of the things that happened was, and one of the things that they do is they tell property owners that this is coming down the pike, and they're the game day condominiums, which are on the kind of overlooking Second Creek on the far edge of the Maplehurst neighborhood. are not included. They were not included in the Tough purchase, so they are still privately owned. Condos are. Those are, I believe, the only owner-occupied residential buildings in Maplehurst, in the entire area, the redevelopment area, because none of the rest of almost all the rest of the property is T. And we have concrete plant and a concrete terminal there, and then KUB's wastewater treatment plant. Other than that, it's almost all UT. The railroads. So they're that development is the only one that has owner occupied, unless there's a small cluster of apartments near Church Street United Methodist Church, apartment buildings that aren't in the development district. And if any of the owners live in those, I guess you'd call that owner occupied, but those are apartment buildings. All the rest of them are apartment buildings, not condos. And but they were really upset because they were concerned that in the redevelopment area they would have their property taken. It is in the plan that they will not be using eminent domain. They do not anticipate removing residents or businesses from anywhere in the redevelopment area, and that kind of underscores the fact that we're not doing this to really develop the land. UT is going to develop its own property. We're doing this to improve infrastructure, and it ended up passing 8-1. I'm sorry, 7-1, because we had one council member who wasn't there, but Amelia Parker voted against it. But what they're going to be doing now is they're going to be meeting with the area residents and UT. I mean, UT is the big property owner, and they are working with them. UT's all on board with this. They had said that their experience with the South Waterfront. Of course, they've been in working with the city on the pedestrian bridge. They're on board with that, which is to those of us who've been around a long time. UT never coordinated anything with the city of Knoxville. All of a sudden, they're coordinating on the pedestrian bridge. They're coordinating on this redevelopment area.
They have things they want. They have determined it's in their interest,
mutually beneficial, as they say. So anyway, so we'll be tracking that as it goes along. One other issue of note that came up during the council meeting was the city has decided, or the city administration had decided to limit the number of monkeys that you can keep in your home as a pet. There was a loophole in the city's laws that
right, because dogs and cats are already limited.
Dogs and cats, and the way that the statute reads, the ordinance reads, is dogs and cats. You are limited now. Apologies. You've got to pay attention to this. You are limited to only 4 dogs and or cats in your home. That's
2 dogs, 2 cats, 4 dogs, 0 cats, 4 cats, no dogs, whatever. There are definitely people in Knoxville who are not in compliance with
that. Yes, but we won't. That wasn't part of the discussion. Anyway, the one thing that happened is that monkeys aren't in there, aren't listed in there as monkeys. They just, and the city has there are animals you cannot keep.
Lions and tigers
and bears. Oh my. And most primates, you can't have a gorilla, you can't have an orangutan. Monkeys, and these are listed in state law. These are, that's how, when the city drafted its ordinance, they referred to the list in state law, and you go to the state law, they're all listed out. You can't keep poisonous snakes. You can't, there are all kinds of things you can't keep. Monkeys aren't listed by the state. So they're not affected by they weren't affected by any of these
which I guess reflects. I mean, there is people have kept pet monkeys for centuries, and I guess maybe that's why they're not explicitly forbidden in the laws.
I think it was probably just it was overlooked.
Yeah.
Well, there's a and it appears now the don't know exactly where all this came from, but there is a woman who lives in North Knoxville, actually near me. Wasn't aware of this. Who owns a monkey rescue. So residents near North Hills, and this would affect people like her. What you have to do now, just like with dogs and cats, with monkeys, well, you have to do that. Passed on first reading. There'll be a second reading of the because it's an ordinance, it has to be voted on twice. Second reading in 2 weeks. If you want to keep more than 4 dogs or cats, you have to have a kennel permit. It costs a whopping $25 for a kennel permit, but you can only operate a kennel in a couple of the commercial zones or in an agricultural zone.
Not in the middle of a city neighborhood.
Middle of a city neighborhood. Excuse me. Well, that the past city council fine. What actually happened was, and this kind of flew under the radar of just about everyone, including me, until I was pointed in this direction by a careful reader. But before the city council meeting, a couple hours before the city council meeting, the Board of Zoning Appeals met, and this woman who runs the center, her monkey rescue in North Knoxville, Jane Fuller, appealed. She was going to the city's codes administrator, Peter Ahrens, had determined that that she needed a kennel permit to have that many monkeys. She had 30, count them, 30 monkeys, and she needed a kennel permit, but she couldn't get it for that house. But she was in violation of the zoning code because she was essentially operating a kennel in a place where she couldn't operate a kennel. And the woman, Jane Fuller, was there trying to appeal that. She has a USDA license to keep a large number of monkeys that she wants, and she said that should exempt her. The thing is, state or federal regulations, that doesn't mean that she still has to comply with city regulations, local laws. Aaron's pointed out that it's kind of two different. So they actually work kind of hand in hand. The federal permit says this is what you can do. Zoning is where this is where you can do it, mm-hmm. and she can't do it where she says she wants to do it. So, and one member of the board said basically, it doesn't get more obvious than that. There's more than 4 monkeys there, and it is in a residential area. It's pretty cut and dried. And so they voted to reject her appeal, so she is in violation. That's a risk, can be punishable by a $50 a day fine for every day that you're out of compliance with the zoning ordinance, zoning regulations. So the clock is ticking on what she can do with her monkeys. But
and so assuming that the city code change passes on second reading, where it explicitly says you can't have more than 4 monkeys, mm-hmm. if she has 30 monkeys, she needs 7 people who don't have any dogs or cats to step forward and each adopt 4 of her monkeys.
Yes, that would probably help her tremendously. Although, I mean, the whole point, she was, and she's got a point. It's a rescue. It's not. She doesn't charge money for people to either come and look at the monkeys or to board monkeys or anything like that. She just, her passion in life is rescuing monkeys that other people have bought and decided they didn't want to keep anymore, and they find her and give them to her. And
which seems like a nice thing to do for the monkeys.
It is. I mean, I think
you can also understand somebody in a densely populated city neighborhood not wanting to live next door to 30 monkeys.
Yeah, and in fact, one of the monkeys, I believe it was from this location, got out a few years ago, and there were news reports from the TV news covered it. Monkey on the loose running around North Knoxville. I'm assuming it came from this location, but there may be others that have monkeys. I mean, we don't know because they've never been regulated before. But if this passes on second reading, was it early September 2nd, I believe, is when the next city council meeting is. Passes on second reading, then yes, you have to limit yourself to 4 monkeys if that's at all possible, or 2 dogs, 1 cat, and a monkey,
right.
Or 3 cats and a monkey, or 3 monkeys and a dog, or any combination. Anyway, so pet lovers in the city of Knoxville, beware. There is a new regulation that you will need to follow. Now we're going to talk to Leslie Bateman, the publisher of Inside of Knoxville, who is our special guest this week. Our special guest this week is Leslie Bateman, and Leslie is the publisher and editor of Inside of Knoxville. She is which is a website that is focused on in and around downtown. She is a longtime friend and of Compass. She is. We look at Inside of Knoxville not as a competitor by any stretch of the imagination. We think we complement each other very well. And Leslie, welcome to Compass Points.
Thank you so much for having me in this gilded studio. I wish your listeners could see me. I'm on this 14-karat couch with this silvery velvet, and I'm drinking champagne out of a bejeweled chalice.
Yeah, Seth takes care of us.
Yeah, and people think we're lying about this. That's what I don't understand.
It's not so much that I'm concerned that people think differently of me for this conversation part of things. It's just I don't want people showing up trying to get a tour of the studio. It's not
or the property assessor's office. Right. Have some interest. I want to give a quick shout out also to Leslie, because she and I are members of an extremely small group of former editors of Metropulse, and so I'm always happy to see other Metropulse alumni out there in the world doing good things, like you are.
Yes, and you too.
So, Leslie, you assumed ownership of Inside of Knoxville not too long ago. When exactly was that again?
It was June 1st of last year.
Yeah, and so you took over from our friend Alan Sims, Knoxville urban guy, and you took that over. So tell us how that's been going.
Yeah, Alan was able to retire 15 years to the date exactly of his first blog post. And he's been, he's living his best life and jet setting and spending time with his friends and family. And I've been getting my sea legs. I think, Scott, you were so kind to come to our 15th anniversary celebration last year, which also was a secret retirement party for Alan. And you asked me at the time, what my vision was. And I think I probably looked at you pretty glazy eyed. And
it was a blank expression. Yes.
So, just trying to sort that out over the past year. I think when you're assuming a position for someone who is so beloved and, has been so important to downtown, I think, I respect that. I want to carry his legacy forward. also like just earning readers' trust. Like, if tomorrow I open my Compass newsletter and somebody else had written the whole thing, I'd be like, who's this bozo? Like, why should I listen to them? So just, trying to establish, a relationship with readers over the past year, that I'm somebody that is going to be fair, I'm going to be accurate, and, I've got my own flair, but that hopefully I have something thoughtful and interesting to say.
Yeah, and my sense is that, and I know that this had already begun under Alan's direction, but I think Inside of Knoxville has really nicely broadened its scope to, it initially for a long time had a very business-heavy focus, which makes sense in and around downtown, what's opening, what's closing, what are sort of like the trends in the market and so forth. And obviously you still cover a lot of that, but there's also a lot of arts and culture coverage in there. There's been good coverage of the new stadium and kind of everything that's gone on in and around there. And also like literally broadening the reach to not just be what we think of as downtown, but kind of the expanding penumbra of downtown, right? So how do you decide for yourself, like, what is or isn't an Inside of Knoxville story?
Yeah. I mean, this, there is pleasure and peril in being your own publisher, as in I don't have anyone to answer to. There's not like some CEO in a glass tower somewhere that's like, you didn't produce enough clicks this month, so you really do have to kind of come up with a matrix for what you want to cover, because there's so much going on all the time, and you can't do all of it, especially if you're as small an operation as we are.
Yeah, we know about that
all too well.
But we try, don't we? You try. I know people do rely on Inside of Knoxville for their business, their downtown business news, their development news. I have to. If it was up to me, I think I could write about arts every single day. So it's kind of a balance of like, what do people want? What do I really enjoy writing? And how do I bring value to the local media landscape? And I think a couple of things that Inside of Knoxville brings that maybe, that are special is, we have a little flavor. I don't shy away from writing in the first person sometimes, or making up imaginary words, or, I think and that's just who I am. And I think if I had to write out of a box every day, I would have given up a long time ago. And I've been very fortunate to have from the Metropulse on a series of editors and publishers who I could pitch some crazy idea to, and they're just like, yeah, sounds great, go for it. Like, no, no one's ever told me no. Yeah. So I've kept that ethos going. And then also another thing that I enjoy is, and it also goes counter to probably what any media specialist, trending specialist would tell you, is I enjoy long form journalism. And I think it's very, the way I consume media, like it's very, feels very destabilizing. Like I'm getting pop-up notifications. I'm like, things are coming across on my social media thread. It feels like very, very piecemeal, and and we're scrolling, and I think there's still a lot of value in just sitting with something for a while and like really thinking about it, and and then bringing something that's like that as we have AI coming in, and a lot of language, I think we've all noticed, is becoming kind of more homogenized, that people still appreciate like that, like there's a human in there, and robots cannot replicate like going to a place and telling you what it smells like and what it sounds like, and like talking to people and having original thoughts. So I hope that's, something that we're bringing to. And then this, you asked about, sort of the geographic bounds, and that's something that, I think I've really been thinking hard on the last year, is like, what is urban? What does that mean? And the closest definition that I've gotten to is, is, anywhere that people live, work, and play in close proximity with one another. And so I think there's always interesting things happening on the fringes. And a lot of times when people, can't, it's harder to get your foot in the door downtown now than it used to be. So,
or to find parking.
Or to find parking. So like people are always doing interesting things on the fringes, and I want to pay attention to that too.
Yeah, we had a good friend of ours who lived downtown, was a big, zealous advocate for downtown, who was adamant that when you talked about downtown, you only referred to the Central Business Improvement District.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. If it was outside of the Central Business Improvement District, and an area that would include, the where the mill and mine is,
right.
Just
across the railroad
tracks from downtown. That wasn't downtown, and if you called that downtown, you were just a fool and an ignorant bumpkin. And
that's how I feel about the definition of Happy Holler. I'm very defensive about what is and what is not included in Happy Holler, because the holler is a word and it means something, and when you're over the other side of the hill, you're not in the holler anymore.
Well, yeah. Well, holler is more.
I have a technical
natural geography
right.
there. The down, what was the CBID? I don't call it CBID anymore, but that's basically an arbitrary boundary.
Right.
I think that anybody with half a brain would say that the Covenant Health Park is in downtown Knoxville.
Yeah. And even
but it's
areas,
outside the boundary.
Even up to, like you all have written about things in Happy Holler before, and Sevier Avenue and South Knoxville, which both Happy Holler and Sevier Avenue, to me, are not quote unquote downtown, but they are absolutely urban centers and have become very active urban centers of Knoxville life and culture and everything.
Yeah, and you used a great word, Scott, arbitrary, because that's my bone to pick with the CBID. And I would love to know the history of how it came about to those specific boundaries. But even like when you go to the old city, if you look at the map, Barley's is cut out. It's
right.
like a missing tooth on the edge. And I'm like, I guess maybe at the time they just didn't want to be included.
Right. That
so
doesn't have to govern how we talk or think about these things. Well, we thought that it would be fun, Leslie, to have you on sort of like a regular rolling basis to talk about some of the stuff that you write about. And, of course, it overlaps with some of the things that we do too, but a lot of times we're looking at more the kind of administrative side of things. So some development that's being proposed and the process it has to go through planning and city council or whatever. Whereas often you are looking at it from kind of the community standpoint, and what are people feeling about it and thinking about it, and how is it actually affecting people's lives. So what's going on right now? What are we, for example, have been talking a lot about the proposal for the housing at the Corbella Temple site, and I know you've written about that too. What are the things that people who live, work, and play downtown or in and around it are especially concerned about these days?
Yeah. I think there is pushback. Of course, I find myself buying into it, like pinching myself sometimes. Like I'll be walking down a crowded sidewalk and I'm like, who are all these people? And like, where did they come from? How soon can they go away? But, I think so there's that there's a little tension there, but, working through it, communicating. I've got, brought some cliff notes. It's like 3 pages of just notes on businesses that are coming and going, and developments that are happening or soon to happen or hopefully happening. So just shuffling chess pieces all of the time.
Yeah, we one of the things that you've been covering quite a bit, and we have a little bit to kind of a lesser extent, as Jesse said. A lot of times we cover things like when a development gets a tax incentive. We'll talk, and we're going to be talking about that too. We have talked about that, but the developments and the businesses opening around Covenant Health Park, something that you've been on. And one thing that we probably haven't we've written a couple of things about it since it started is the downtown parking, the meterless parking system. What are businesses and people who are coming downtown think about that? Is that something that has been, you think, universally accepted, universally reviled? I can tell you where I fall on that, but tell me what normal people think about it.
I mean, I think it's fairly universally reviled. I actually have I'd start stories and stop them and pick them back up a couple weeks later or whatever. One that I've kind of draft that's been collecting dust is one that's called "Stick it to the man, never pay for parking again."
A how-to guide to park around downtown.
Because it takes being resourceful and kind of knowing your way around a little bit. But it is possible. There is free parking to be had, or there's low cost parking to be had. We have the downtown connector bus is now free permanently after a pilot program this summer. And so you can really, in the bus kind of like, I've actually ridden around on the bus, a few times I tried an experiment of like, if you park here, how long does it take you to get here? If you park here, how long does it take you to get here? And so we have, there's ways to, might have to walk a little bit, but, there's ways to get park without. I say that, and I just got a ticket yesterday. I was just about to be late for an interview, and I was just like pulled into, wherever the devil pleases, and came back out. So
I got lucky yesterday. I went to work at Jack's coffee shop there on the 100 block of Gay Street for an hour and a half or so, and I'm usually pretty good about what I try to make myself do is get on the app and pay for the parking space before I even get out of the car. But for whatever reason, I didn't do that yesterday. And so I went in, I had my dirty chai latte, was working there for about 90 minutes, packed up to leave, and suddenly realized, oh no, I never paid for that space. And I think they used to be on about a 2-hour circulation, the parking enforcers downtown. I came out and I didn't have a ticket. So I somehow got away with 90 minutes of free parking. So that's one way you can park for free is just take your chances.
Yeah.
But it can get expensive.
Yeah, that's, I've taken my chances only a couple of times, and have, successfully evaded the authorities. And that one time, this was early on, I had to go to the Old City for an interview, and I was characteristically either barely on time or just about more late. And there was and I don't even have the app.
Just refuse.
I am trying to end my life because I'm over 60. I'm trying to end my life without having to use one of those darn QR codes. Anyway,
you're not going to make it, buddy. I'm sorry.
Don't get me started. But
I have hope for you, but no.
Well, hey, there was a last passenger pigeon, so that's. But it was when they first started. I said, well, I just went in and parked, and of course, the car that parked right behind me was one of the PBA enforcement vehicles. Said, well, I'm just going to get a ticket. Just resign.
Right.
No, for some reason, they did not give me a ticket. I don't know what it is.
You were in their blind spot.
I was
maybe.
Right in front of your face.
Only if he got in the car and immediately looked behind him and backed up, then I he wouldn't have noticed me. But anyway, yeah, I'm pretty much a garage parker when I go downtown. So anyway.
Yeah, which is, that is, I always remind people, that is where most of the parking downtown is. Everybody gets very fixated on the street spaces, but they account for, 10% maybe, probably less of the total inventory.
But you also mentioned one thing, Leslie, about walking. You might have to walk further or whatever. And always try to remind people when they talk about, you've got to park, you got to walk forever to get to a place. I'm sitting there going, no, I mean, if you park at the edge of the parking lot at Westtown Mall to get to the other side of the mall on the inside, you're walking a pretty good piece. I mean, you're walking a quarter mile at least.
Yeah, I mean, that would cover a fair amount of downtown.
Yeah.
Really.
So anyway.
Well, so what are some of the you have your Cliff Notes? What are the most interesting or exciting new businesses that have been announced or have opened recently downtown? Because there are so many now. I mean, there was a period in downtown sort of early years of revitalization where it wasn't that hard to keep track of each individual thing as it came along. But now, I mean, there's a lot of businesses that have opened and closed downtown without me ever even setting foot in them. So what's going on?
Yeah. Well, since you asked me the questions, and I know you're a cocktail kind of guy.
Yeah.
Let me run down. We've got some exciting new additions coming. We've got House of Strays, which is going into the former Postmodern Spirits place.
In the Jackson Terminal building there.
Yep, next to Poor. And that is a project by AJ Tierney, who was a Brother Wolf bartender. And she also has a theater background. So it's going to be like a cocktail bar with a performance focus. So that's interesting.
Yeah, sounds
interesting
cool.
concept. We've got the Jaguar Room should be opening pretty soon. That's in the former Riverside Tattoo Company space over on Central.
That's in the White Lily building, right? The corner of the White Lily building.
Yeah.
So it'll be catty corner from the other bar that's right across the monkey bar, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is, and I just think it's always interesting to see where people came from, and now they're striking out on their own. But that's Tyler Measley, who did the drink programming at Kefi and the Vault, and that one is an avant-garde cocktail bar with old school Latin American drinks, Japanese influence, and Cuban rooted food. So that's a lot.
If they do any one of those things well, that'll be great. I'm always concerned when people say we're going to do this, this, and this, because it's hard. It's hard for any business to do one thing really well. But
yeah.
I wish them well.
We've got Sidecar, which is a high-end cocktail lounge from, I believe they actually described it as like sexy and romantic, from Fiore owners, Jesse and Corey Vos, that's going into the former Rolla space there in the Old City. So lots of Old City cocktail bars. And then Aaron Thompson and Jessica Rabbit King of Brother Wolf and Lulu and Osteria Stella are putting a bar into the place next to Osteria Stella that was Rolla. So, and then we have one not cocktail bar that's coming in. Country Road is going to be a honky tonk venue up on Magnolia, where was formerly the Double S Wine Bar. So that'll be our honky tonk scene is just like it's
right. Well, and this bar is what is his name? Russ
Walker.
Walker, right?
Yeah.
He's the one who's been organizing these honky tonk nights at Barley's that have apparently gotten. I have yet to make it down to them, but apparently gotten very popular. And so now he's actually taking that and turning it into his own full bar, right?
Yeah. And I think Justin Mangelsdorf, who's from Alchemy Lounge, the cigar lounge, is involved too. So so that'll be fun.
Lots going on. Lots of options.
Can we drink that much? Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
There was a day, yeah.
I actually remember that being a serious concern in the late 90s, as a couple of little things were starting to spring up around downtown. And of course, we had the initial iteration of the Brew Pub on Gay Street, which is now the Downtown Grill and Brewery. And that closed. And so those of us who used to go there were sort of adrift, and we ended up, there was a place called McLeod's that was in the Arnstein building where Urban Outfitters is now. And that kind of became the bar for downtown people to go to. And then another bar, I guess it was maybe the next iteration of the Brew Pub, opened. And I remember there being this kind of crisis among, the 20 or so of us who were going down regularly to drink downtown. We're like, can we keep two bars open at the same time? Like, this was a real challenge. And so we've come a long way.
I believe in you, Knoxville. So let's see. And then restaurants. Got a whole nother spreadsheet on restaurants.
Right.
Let's see. We got, Yasin's is a reopening. It just reopened in the on Walnut Street in the new Holiday Inn Express.
Right. He moved into the Marble City Market temporarily, right, and then moved back there.
Yep. Let's see. We got chicken. We got a chicken sack coming in soon, very soon, in the former Sweet Peas space.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then we lost a chicken place. We lost Myrtle's Chicken and Beer up on Market Square. And that was interesting. I interviewed the owner there, who also has Soccer Taco and Not Watson's next door. And he I was like, he felt like the chicken bubble has burst. But I don't know. So we got
I know we got a Hattie B's now too, right? So it may be that the locals are having trouble competing with all these Nashville chains coming in.
Yeah, he did say that too. He was like, you can go through Zaxby's and get some pretty good fried chicken, and it's just hard to so he thought the space was ready for a fresh concept. We've got Appetai, which has been a food truck that's going into the former New Haven Pizza space on Clinch. Which is great, because one thing I feel like downtown has really been lacking. I mean, we've had Japanese food downtown for a long time, and Mexican food, of course, but not a lot of other sort of international cuisines represented downtown. So, I know there was a Thai place on Gay Street that lasted a little while and then went away, but happy to see some more variety there. Yeah, it's always my dream. I'm still holding out for an Indian restaurant. I just want a lunch Indian buffet on downtown. That's been my dream for 20 years. Let's see. We've got a Copita that's in the that hotel
Embassy
there.
Suites.
The Embassy Suites.
Yes,
the restaurant I just wrote about 2 days ago is open there, and they're adding a public balcony on the second floor with the aid of a facade grant from Downtown Knoxville Alliance, and they're also adding a event space on the roof to their rooftop bar. That's like I think they're investing. It's a $2.5 million investment. So, that's interesting. We've got at Lone Tree Pass. They've got the Flying Biscuit Cafe coming in, Jaboni's Pizza, Treetop Coffee, and then an Italian steakhouse, which is going to be by Gemini Hospitality, which is also, going to do something yet to be announced with the former Babalu space on Gay Street.
I got distracted for a second. Jaboni's is moving it. Where are they going to be?
They're going to be in Lone Tree Pass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
that's good. I can give them a
and Lone Tree Pass, for people who aren't familiar with it, is
a mixed use development on Gay and Summit Hill.
Right. It's the new sort of multi-building.
That's right across from the
from the beloved public
art at Cradle of Country Music Park. And, and one thing about that is I don't know where these places are on that, but in addition to having frontage on Gay Street, this also has a kind of an arcade walkway through the middle of it, back off of Gay Street. So then there are places up in.
Yeah. And that was sort of, I don't know if you've talked about Kerbella Temple today, but it was an example that was held up at one of the early planning commission meetings of like, here's how this can be, or maybe it was at one of the stakeholder meetings, but it was like, here's, how this can be done well and, engage the public. So, okay. We got I think the stadium that's where I got my parking ticket yesterday when I ran in for an interview. But I went in to interview Berry Social, which is a soft serve acai bowl place that's having its ribbon cutting September 4th. So that's soon. And next door there's a Party Golf. It's golf simulators. We got Knox Keela Cantina, Disco Chicken and Donuts, T. Ralph's Burgers and Fries, and that's all in the Delaney building. And then over around to the other side, next to where Jackie's Dream and Iron Forge is, we've got Crispy Cones. It's an ice cream chain. I think it was like a Shark Tank kind of concept. And then and so I think that fills up all the spaces in the stadium. I think they're all taken.
And they've given approval for Jonathan's Grill, which is not part of the stadium complex, but catty cornered from the north or southwestern corner of the
off
stadium.
Of Willow, basically.
Off of Willow,
there, yeah.
Anyway, Burleson has property down there.
Right, Randy Burleson's got a space that he hasn't even said what he's going to do with.
Yeah.
And
It's storage. That's what he does with all of his buildings.
And then we've got
everywhere.
the two apartment complexes going on the other side of the stadium.
Yeah.
One just recently got just this last week got a payment in lieu of tax agreement with the city. The other one is going to be asking for one. It's over 500 new apartment units right there by the stadium.
Yeah.
which is going to be important to keep any of those places around the stadium open, because those places, I'm sure, cannot survive just on serving people who come to the stadium for games, not least because the stadium itself also sells food inside. And so all of these restaurants that are opening around there, restaurants and bars, they need people to be coming down to that area, not just to go to the stadium.
Yeah. An interesting thing about the Jonathan's Grill is that the Dora, the designated outdoor drinking area district that goes around the stadium, actually crosses the street there to go over to Jonathan's patio. So people will be able to get a beer there and then walk across the street to the stadium.
Walk across the street with a beer.
Whew.
Boy,
Knoxville's really...
we're getting decadent is what we are.
What about, this isn't right in downtown, but a little bit north of it. Have you been to Au Bon Coin yet?
Sour sass. I'm like, ABC. No, I think the waiting list is like a month long.
My wife managed to get us a reservation for, I think, the first week of October. I hear good things about it.
Yeah. I did talk to someone at Potchkey yesterday who said that that they have had people make their reservations and then cancel them. So I'd say maybe there's a chance, I have to look into keeping an eye on cancellations. There might be something last minute that comes up, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it's fantastic. They don't even have a sign up yet, and everyone's so excited, waiting.
It's a very small space, so I guess that's part of what's driving the lack of availability.
Yeah. And then if you hop over to Central, we've got a couple of barbecue places coming in. We've got a new from Archer's Barbecue concept, and then Wells Station Barbecue down further down next to Mid-Mod Collective and Wild Love. And they're working on reconcepting XYZ as a new gay club. And what else is that? Oh, Stem to Stem just opened there.
It's Happy Holler.
In Happy Holler.
We got that new big Connolly development. They're getting right along with the residential side of things. That should be. They're only a couple months out before they're scheduled. I think they said they're a little bit behind, but not crazy behind on getting that place open. Going to what Jesse was saying earlier, talking about the more residents, the easier it is for the businesses in the neighborhood. Selfishly, as me, we're excited about that one getting open for sure.
Yeah. And the tire shop, which is the new event venue, that's going to be a smaller event venue to. What's the one right there? Right,
with the Relics and the Happy Holler events third venue in the neighborhood now. Yeah.
So,
which will not make parking in and around Happy Holler any easier.
Well, one thing that that this part of the conversation has made readily apparent is there's no lack of things to do and places to go in and around downtown anymore. I mean, it just seems like your options just keep growing, and and be more interesting.
Yeah, and when places open or when places close, it's typically not too long before somebody else will swoop in there. So, we're basically 20 plus years into the great revitalization of downtown, and my impression is that it shows no signs of slowing down at all. I mean, property values have just continued to skyrocket down there, but people are still showing up and doing things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's still, you look around, and there's room to be had.
Oh, yeah.
There's places.
There's still plenty of street or surface parking lots to be redeveloped into one thing or another.
That's right.
All
right.
But not parking. That's of course there's surface lots. The only thing that people hate more than on-street parking are surface lots.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, surface lots are especially bad because they're typically privately managed, so they cost more. And also, that's where if you're going to get a boot anywhere downtown, it's going to be in one of those lots, which people don't like parking tickets, but they really don't like getting their cars booted.
That's true.
Bad experience.
Yeah. My little revolutionist self is like, if none of us park in the surface parking lots, they won't make any revenue and they'll shut down.
They'll have to sell. Yeah.
They'll have to sell, but yeah, so.
All right. Well, it's a good rundown. Anything else you want to hit on while you're here? Mention exciting things coming up?
Exciting things coming up. Oh. I don't know. I'm just trying to get through the day. Mostly.
Yeah. It is Friday.
It is Friday, yes. Yes.
Well, where can people find all of this stuff that don't already know all about you?
Inside of Knoxville.com. And we also have a daily newsletter that you can subscribe to. We have stories coming out 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, most of the time. And then an events calendar on Sundays.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for stopping by,
you
Leslie. We'll have
very
you
much.
back.
All right.
I think that it's, those of us in the Knoxville independent media, it's nice for us to kind of pay attention to what each other are doing.
And listen, I do not start my day without reading my Compass newsletter first thing in the morning. It's the sweetest thing. Tommy brings me coffee in bed and I read, and that's how I like to, get my news is it's like, okay, it's all in one place, you know, now I've read it. Now I can go on with my day. And I listen to the podcast every week, probably one of the first ones.
Wow.
So
well, thanks very much.
I appreciate what
thank
you
you.
guys do.
and likewise.
Absolutely. So thanks again for being here, and we'll have you back again soon.
Okay.
Coming up this week in Knox County and City of Knoxville government news, it's almost all county news this coming week. We have a packed day on Monday. County Commission at 1:00. They're holding a workshop on the much maligned flock cameras. These license plate reader cameras that have the sheriff's office wants to expand the use of them, and that desire to expand the use of them has coincided with a national wave of discontent about them that crosses party lines. In other words, just about anybody with a car who's not in law enforcement, it seems, has spoken out against these cameras. But the sheriff's office and law enforcement contend that they are crucial crime fighting tools. We've had lots of media reports that some law enforcement officers have abused them by using them for personal purposes. Such
There was
as
a crazy one
stalking.
that just came out. I forget which state it was in, but a police officer had accessed the flock cameras 717 times to track his ex-wife or ex-partner or something around town.
Yeah, and then with flock cameras too, agencies from all over the country can look at this data. This data isn't a local thing; it's a national thing. Anyway, the county commission, responding to this public uproar, wanted to have a a workshop with the sheriff's office and representatives from Flock Cameras. They were going to have it last month. It was postponed, so we are going to have that workshop at 1 p.m. on Monday at the main assembly room of the City County building. Now, if you're listening to this, it's before that, and you say, by golly, I want to go down there and give them a piece of my mind, you can't. You go down there, but they're not going to have a public forum session. This is a session for county commissioners to speak with sheriff's officials and representatives of Flock, the company that makes these cameras, about the future of them in Knox County. They are not going to have a public forum. You will not have a chance to speak. Just FYI. You can still go. You can learn about what's going on, and we always encourage people to go to meetings, but just know that there's not going to be a public forum for that. Then at 3 o'clock, there's going to be the agenda review meeting, which they have monthly to talk about the agenda for the voting meeting, which will be on the 31st. Lots of stuff on it. One of the things that's going to be on that, now I don't know if we'll know. I've heard that we will know at some point on Monday. But one of the things that's going to be on there is the what they call the certified tax rate, which we just had a reappraisal that concluded. As we've talked about many times before, when that happens, when property values have gone up, assessments go up, local governments can't make a windfall off of that, so they have to lower the property tax rate. We are going, and that's been under discussion here and in the state. They're about to come out with it. It'll probably be around 98 cents per $100 of assessed value, which is the lowest it's ever been, or will be the lowest it's ever been. But that will be voted on between now and the end of the year, and probably just wait till the 31st to vote on it. But they'll be discussing that, and possibly we'll have the actual number, whether it's 98, 99, 97.
It'll probably be, I mean, our current rate is like 155.4. I mean, it goes out to multiple decimal points, which they are allowed to do. And we were talking about Chris Caldwell, the county chief financial officer, earlier. He can tell you that those extra decimal points really matter, because when you're applying it across hundreds of thousands of properties, it adds up. Yeah,
we're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars, or actually $billions of property. And so anyway, so we'll be talking about that. Then at 5 o'clock, there'll be the monthly zoning meeting where they will vote on zoning matters. So big day Monday, long day Monday. Then on not much else is going on the rest of the week. On Thursday, one of Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs, who is leaving office at the end of the month, one of his big pet projects has been the development of Heroes Hill, which is a tiny home development for veterans who've been experiencing homelessness. They enlisted the aid of high school shop classes with the oversight from professionals, a lot of donations, all that, and it is finally going to open. They're having the ribbon cutting at 11 o'clock on Thursday morning, and it's going to be up on off Division Street, at the Public Defender's office, because this development is actually kind of behind the Public Defender's office up there on that hill, and so they're going to have the ribbon cutting up there, and that's one of the things that Jacobs wasn't able to finish up the Unified Development Ordinance, but he was able to finish up Heroes Hill before he's leaving office. So anyway, there will be other things that happen. More news. It's the nature of the beast, and we stalk that beast, and we'll be covering all that at CompassKnox.com, and you can join us there. It's been another great week. Thanks, Jesse.
Happy to be here, and thanks again to Leslie Bateman for joining us as well.
Absolutely. Lord Seth Barber, thank you for your stellar work. Also appreciate Will Wright providing music for us. And thank you for listening, and we will be back next week with another installment of Compass.
CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. If you'd like to learn more about the topics discussed on today's podcast, go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe for in-depth coverage and much more. And many thanks to William Wright for composing our theme song. Compass Points is a partnership of Barking Shark Media and Barbarian Productions, and recorded by Lord Seth A. Barber at Barbarian Studios, Knoxville, Tennessee.